record. Okay, guys, thank you very much for joining me today. This was supposed to be a live, that didn't work out. So yeah, the reason I've invited you is because I'm on a very short deadline, because there are some woodlands that I really want to get. And I viewed them yesterday, but I've been looking at them for about 2 weeks. I'm looking at them online. I've had the legal pack. Andrew, I'm guessing you still haven't had the time to look at the legal pack. No, that's okay. There's no need to lie. It's fine. So there's loads of like legal stuff in there. But the reason I want the woodlands is because I've been chatting for ages about having my own school. Having a school is very different to an education centre, and to become a school you need lots of permissions by the regional schools commissioner. It's a big governing body thing. It's quite complicated. So it might start out as an educational centre, which then might turn into a school, or it might never become that. But the whole point is to work with young people that are vulnerable and don't fit mainstream education. So does anyone have a question? I feel like I'm just chatting.
Yeah, I've got loads actually.
Yeah, let's just chat.
Like, tell us everything about the woods, because how did you find it? Like, how did you come across it? How big is it? Like, everything about it.
Okay, so I found the woods because there was a different woods that I was interested in, but I didn't save the link. So I was looking for it, and I couldn't find it, and I was getting annoyed. And then I came across this one a couple of weeks ago. And then it's on the internet, but I don't want to say too much in case other people go look it up. But it's going to auction, which is quite scary, and it means you can't just call up the agent and kind of negotiate a price right now, because it's going to go to auction. I mean, I could try to negotiate the price right now. Andrew gave me a look like, of course you can, Shona.
Yeah,
you can. So you
can.
can
We do that.
You can do what quite a few people do, is they do a pre-auction offer and a post-auction offer.
Right.
And you can gear it if you want to buy it pre-auction. You can load it so it's a better deal for them.
Yeah.
Pre-auction.
Okay, so that's something I could consider. I think it goes to auction. It's either Tuesday or Wednesday, so it doesn't give you much time to.
So if it was like, say it's an auction property for 250 grand, whatever it is, doesn't matter whether it's woods or house, you could go, right, I'll give you 200 grand pre-auction.
Yeah.
And I can complete in a month, blah blah blah, whatever it is.
Yeah. And
then post-auction, I can give you 160 grand if it doesn't sell.
Yeah, exactly.
And that really hurts. You're like, oh.
Yeah.
So actually the better deal is to take the one beforehand. So now they've got a choice of, do they take the 200 and run? Do they risk it at the auction? And do they know on the other end of the auction they've got a guaranteed sale, but that's really going to hit hard?
Yeah. So yeah, that is an option. Going back to your question, Tara, about the wood. So it's 13 acres.
Wow.
It's near Colchester. Yeah, it's quite big, but not so big that it's unmanageable. I took a walk around it. You can just walk around it in about 15-20 minutes. There is a property on the site, and so the reason why this site is particularly good is because it does have that property, and from what I understand, it will have running water. It's going to have services connected to it. The paperwork says it doesn't, but I do know that it's being leased to a community group. And there's no way that they would be leasing it if it didn't have running water and toilet facilities. And it says that there is electricity leased to that property as well. So that's a great benefit to me, which would be different to if I just bought a woods that didn't have that. The fact that it has a building that you can work, obviously it's in really bad condition. I need to do it up. It might even have asbestos in the roof and stuff like that. But if it didn't have that, that would be worse. Not the worst to have asbestos if it didn't have a property on the site. There is also a lake on the site which has a license for fishing. That's currently fenced off because it's used by the people that are leasing that as well. But having a lake means that I can always renew that license, and that means I can make some money back off the site in the future, because fishers like to fish.
and you can teach people to fish.
I don't know how. Do you know how?
No, not you. You get the fishermen and say, do you want to help out with the kids?
Exactly. I want to teach people how to do forestry, and I don't know how to do that either. But I will learn or get somebody else in to teach it.
Get someone in.
So with the actual site, my thinking is that the property can be done up so that we can use that as the base for the education centre. That will be used like Monday to Friday, school hours, but I can also lease it to community groups and things in the evenings. I could also charge for events and stuff on the weekends, and that would bring in some money to help me fund myself in the future, because the whole thing is I don't have money right now. That's why I'm looking for investment or people to donate, but that's only really to get started. The whole point is that I will be able to self-fund myself in the future. So other things I can do on the Woodlands, you can do camping in the Woodlands. I do camping a lot with my whole life. I've done camping. I've never done it in the woods, but I would like to. But that has a 28-day rule that you're not allowed to sleep overnight without permission. But there's an exemption certificate that you can apply for, which I don't see a reason I wouldn't get that. It doesn't cost much. It costs about £200. And that means I'll be able to have unlimited nights of camping for an unlimited amount of people. And also I can apply for a caravan license, which would allow me, I mean, you can put a caravan on the site anyway, because you can say that your wooden workers need somewhere to like, yeah, go to the toilet, do things like that, cook for themselves while they're at work. But if I get this exemption certificate for a caravan license, that's for up to 5 caravans, and that will mean that people can sleep there as well. They can't live there, let's be very clear. Nobody is allowed to live on this land, but you can sleep there, especially if you're a worker. And that's all under permitted development rights, so it's not the same as getting planning permission, so that's really good. And the actual space, because of the Woodlands, although I'm saying I'm going to use the building for the classroom for the young people, actually working outside in the woods is kind of what I'm about, like working with the land, being outside, having space to run around. I've got ADHD. Lots of the students I work with now have ADHD. They can't be sitting at a desk for 2 hours because it's a double lesson. They need to get up, they need to get outside, they need space. We can climb trees, but we need to make sure we've got good insurance in place.
Danger zone. That sounds. So, what is the reason that you can't build on there? Like,
so Woodlands are, I don't know the right terminology.
Is it kind of like protected or something, like a grade 2 listed building or something?
Yes. Yeah, Woodlands
Right.
are protected, and also you can have a TPO, which I don't know what it stands for, but basically it means
Tree preservation order.
Yes.
That's what it stands for.
So some of this land counts as ancient woodlands, which sounds
Oh wow.
to me. That just sounds beautiful. I've seen it, it is beautiful, but the words sound good. And you can't touch those trees at all, but you should be able to, from the local council, have it listed which ones you're not allowed to touch and which ones you are. But I don't intend to cut down any trees. That's
No.
not the point. I would like to use any that are fallen to make things, and that could be things that we then sell to make money back for the school. I mean, we need to build a fence around the whole thing, because at the moment people use it to walk their dogs. It does have a gate at the entrance, because you can drive into the site, but you can just walk around that at the moment. So
Are there any footpaths or bridleways that go through it?
So the footpath goes all the way around the outside of it.
Okay, so it's on the perimeter, although people will just wander through it because they can, but
exactly.
Okay.
So so I will need to fence off some bits. Some of the walkway is harder to get to. Sorry, you can walk, look at me drawing it in the air. You can walk around here, but this bit is difficult to walk around because it's quite overgrown, but technically it is a public footpath. So we'd have to fence up along those things, and there's different options. But if I can use the natural material that has fallen within the woodlands to do some of that, that will be a great advantage. But that's something else I need to learn how to do. Go on.
So are you looking to raise just the purchase price, or are you looking to raise a little bit more to go over the beginning of the developments that you're talking about? How much are you trying to raise?
Okay, so I'm hoping, I don't want to say the exact amount because some people could look it up, but I'm trying to raise more than it's on the market for, because if I do end up going to auction, then it might go above that. That's
yeah.
I want to make sure there's some money there. You also have to pay fees when you go to auction, so I need to make sure that's covered. And if so, I'm looking for 150,000 at the moment for 13 acres, which I think is a steal because I've been looking at woods for quite a while now and how much they cost. The closest I found, I think, was Ipswich, which is further away from London, and for about 60,000 you can lease 4.5 acres for about 100 years. So this is freehold, so this is much better than that. And the fact that this has a property on the land and it's got the lake just has so much more going for it, and it's not so out of the way. So to get to it, it's between like a row of houses. When I drove there yesterday, I didn't even notice it was there, but once you know it's there, yeah, it will have a local community that can get to it quite easily, which is much better than having a woods that you have to drive 5 minutes to get to.
With the investment side of things, like trying to give back people's investments, would you think of like leasing some out? Like you just said, you can lease 4 acres out and get 60k. Would you lease part of it out to get some money in as well? I know you've got all these ideas of bringing back money, but would that be an idea as well?
Yes. So there is somebody I know that is interested in like a wedding venue because they recently got married and they saw how much that you have to pay for that. So yes, I would definitely be up for leasing out some of the space or the lake or the building, like I said, just running events in general. But then I'd need to make sure that the property was up to the spec that would hit that target audience, if you know what I mean. And so that would take some work on the actual property because, yeah, it would need a lot to make it look luxurious for a wedding, for example. But there's no reason you couldn't use it for like staff meetings, inset days, and team building on the actual woods itself. That would be perfect. But yeah, I'm happy to section bits off for other people to use. The other thing that's really good about Woodlands is that, you know, inheritance tax, when you have a property, Woodlands doesn't incur inheritance tax. So if, for example, somebody else wanted to buy the site because they were happy to put their money somewhere where it was safe rather than just leaving it in the bank, it will still go up in value like a property would. Even if I used it or not, it would just gain equity over time. So somebody else could potentially buy it, not on my behalf, but it's theirs, it's in their name, it's their asset. So the risk is really, really low. But then they could lease it to me for 60 years on a very small or peppercorn rent, or we could work out a profit share for when I do something. So I'm really looking at working with people, not just give me your money, this is what I'm going to go do. Like, I mean, there are skills I have and there are skills I don't. So working with people, one that have some money but also have skills that are different to mine, is only beneficial to what I'm trying to do to help more young people.
Your the other thing with Woodlands is that it can be a tax efficient way for companies to spend some of their funding. I'm not a tax expert, but I know that kind of is another opportunity. So it might be worth you seeing if there's anyone that works in that space, or any employer that helps younger people get into the workplace that have got ADHD or dyslexia or whatever it is, you know, neurodiversity, that aligns with what you're doing, because they might want to partner up as well.
Yeah,
it's worth thinking about that. The other thing is if there's a local school that actually is involved in that would want to use the site as well. So, and like you said, go into a partnership with someone.
At working in a school myself, I can imagine that a school paying out the money for it would be quite difficult at the moment. But yes, it is a possibility, especially if they're a trust. The big academy trusts will come with lots of legislation about what they say I can and can't do with it. And I really want to work. I don't want to just do my own thing, but I want to work with people, not just I don't want it to become theirs, if you know what I mean. I've got a lot of experience. I've worked with kids that are not in mainstream school for over 14 years. I've been a learning mentor, a coordinator, I've been a teacher, a curriculum manager, and I've not been a head teacher, but I do have my head teacher qualification. So, and I'm all about working as a team so that we can all use our own ideas, and some things are going to work and some things aren't going to work, and that's okay. We're going to learn as well as the kids, basically. Yeah.
So how did you come up with this idea?
So there are lots. I knew that I wanted to work in property. This is about 2.5 years ago. I owned my company Property Smiles, so I was looking at that, and people kept saying, talk about what you know, because I was trying to talk about property, but I was learning it at the time, and alternative education is what I know. I like live and breathe it every day. So I started talking about that, and then I was trying to match up how that fitted with wanting to do property stuff. So I've looked at lots of different ways of doing it. So recently I was looking at a house that came with 4 acres, and I was thinking I could rent out the house as service accommodation, and that would make money so that I could run the school, but it's over £1 million. So I was trying to be aspirational. You know, they tell you just, you can do it, you can do anything. So that's what I was going down that route. But in reality, this is much more cost effective to do it this way. And then I was looking at just land in general, just to rent that. But agricultural land has a lot more restrictions on it. You still can't build again, but and then I was thinking about the camping thing. And actually in the woods, when I was a kid, I always used to go walking in the woods. And while I was there visiting yesterday, there were lots of people, like, I know they were just walking their dogs because they have to take them for a walk, but walking in the woodlands is very therapeutic, I think. So that's when I came across it, I was like, yeah, that's cool, but not this particular site, just in general. And then I was looking into it about these tax benefits and stuff. And that's when I started to realize as well that I don't necessarily need to own. I wanted to own it because I'd love to have an asset. But if I can't own it and somebody else does, but I still get to do the work I want to do, then that's okay. Do you know what I mean? Like, you got to do what you got to do to make things happen. Cool.
Yeah, no, that's nice.
Yeah.
And you could still own it, because you could do a deal with someone where they buy it, and then you have an option to buy it over a certain period of time.
Yeah.
And then you can build it up and draw the funds in to then pay for it and buy it off them for more in the future, especially if they're going to avoid capital gains tax on it.
Yeah.
If that can be done, obviously
Yeah.
find that out as well.
So
That's a great way for someone to earn out of it and help at the same time.
Yeah, I posted the other day about different ways that people could invest. Yeah, so say we bought it for 150, and then but I agreed, and it was all in a contract that I was going to buy it back off them. I don't know how long. It depends how long people are willing to wait. Like, some people might be like, well, you need to buy it back off me in 2 years, because that's the amount of time I'm willing to put money in for. But some other people, that amount of money might not need to come out in 2 years. They might be like, yeah, you can have that for 10 years and we'll agree the price now. The scary thing is agreeing what that price is, because obviously I don't know how much it will be worth. And it will be worth more because it will be running a business. So that's why I'd prefer a long amount of time. But also, again, I'd be happy to work out some kind of profit share in what I was doing, or maybe I could use that money to then buy it, if you know. I don't know.
Yeah, you don't have to put an end figure on it now. You can just have a partnership where someone puts in the money and you use your side on everything else and run it as a business, and then just split everything 50-50 or whatever percentage you choose to.
Yeah.
And then, you know, you don't have to stipulate that you're going to buy it back, but then maybe in 5 years, if it's really profitable, you might say, you know, do you want out? And then you might have the conversations about buying it back then. You don't have to do it right now. Someone could just be happy being in a partnership of you running the business and then putting up the funds.
Yeah.
It's worth having those when you're joint venturing, having those conversations booked for at least once a year, because people's personal situations change. So someone whose kids are going to state school now, they might do well with whatever they're doing and go, well, actually, I really want to put my kids through private school. Obviously, that costs an absolute flipping fortune, especially nowadays.
Yeah.
And they go, well, actually, the only way I can do that is if I start pulling the funds out of, you know, half a dozen projects or whatever it is. So their circumstances have changed. So it's worth having that booked in. I do that with all of my different business partners. Once a year we will sit down and go, right, is everyone still good to go another year doing what we're doing? Is there anything that we're doing that's not working? You know, and have one of those type of meetings and make sure that everyone's happy with the direction we're going in.
Have you ever come to a point where it wasn't working for somebody, so the original agreement you had to work out how to make it work? Yeah. Okay.
A year ago, well, in fact, this year I've had to shut a company down, and it's the first time I've ever done it in my entire life of setting up companies. And we just the couple that we were working with, we just got to the stage where it was really tricky trying to do what we were trying to do with the business in the area we were trying to do it, whilst COVID was still kind of kicked in, and at the same time, because we both partners basically ran multiple businesses, the other businesses were really starting to elevate.
Yeah.
And we said, look, let's just shelve this business for now, because it's actually becoming a hindrance for all of us, and it's in the back of all of our minds going, oh no, it's not, you know. So we just parked it and said, look, let's have a look in a year or 2 years time, when the market's all shifting around, when, you know, obviously there's quite a shift going on at the moment that's already started, and it'd be interesting to see where it goes in the next 12 to 18 months. But if it goes the way that a lot of people think it will, and historically looking back, if it goes that way, that business will ricochet back and it will be a good business to have. So it's there, it's just there, but it stopped being a bind for us, and it's meant that we can shift our focus onto the other businesses and really push them forward. So there's always this kind of dance around, and that doesn't matter whether it's people or businesses. It's just having those conversations and being open and honest about it.
I think that's good for you to explain that, because I always get scared that I'm going to have to agree to something now to last for 10 years, for example. And yes, I want that to be true, but like you say, like people's lives change and things like that. So you want to be able to have those open conversations about what is and what isn't working. So that's good. Thinking about time frames then, I mean, I work full time at the moment as well. So it's not like if I got this Woodlands, I can just quit my job and be there. I can't do that as well. So that's also part of the business planning that has to happen. I can hire other people to do things, especially if we started off with like the glamping, for example. Well, first I have to get the exemption certificate. So there's all like policies and procedures and stuff that need to be put in place. But then again, even before we do that, then the fence needs to go up. So it's working out those timelines. So it might not look like in the first 3 months, for example, that anything has actually happened, but that's because it's all the background stuff happening. Also with the Woodlands, I mean, anyone can Google government Woodlands grants. Like there's lots of things available actually, because the government wants to encourage planting of trees. We need more plants for oxygen, and to be an eco kind of friendly business is really being promoted at the moment. So I think as well that this is a good way to go.
It's also the environment. So it's something that we work with a company in Denmark that plants trees, and they plant trees all over the world. And it's not just planting the trees, it's actually the ecosystems that spring up around that, and the ecosystems that get destroyed by the deforestation as well. So it's more and more and more stuff. So and there is a big drive to be environmentally responsible, and there should be as well, so that it's protected. Because what's the point in teaching all these kids all these skills if the world's not going to be here in 200 years?
Yeah, exactly.
It's just wasting everyone's time.
Yeah. And I think learning, I just think learning in nature will bring young people back to, because I mean, I work in East London. Some of those kids have never been to a forest before, which sounds crazy to me. Some of them don't, now as teenagers, don't even leave their postcodes because of gang wars and stuff, which as an adult, I don't see it, but I hear it, and it's real, because I then find out that a child is being picked up by the police because something's happened. And it's a dangerous world out there for them that adults don't always understand. So to be able to take young people out of that environment and show them another way, hopefully will lift their aspirations and let them see like there's so many things out there that you just don't even know exist yet. And I think it's all about exposure. Yeah, if you're not exposed to something, you just have no idea, do you? Yeah.
No.
Cool. Any other questions?
I don't think I do. I think I'm going to shut up now. I don't think I have any questions. No, it sounds really, really exciting though. It actually does sound really exciting. I'd love to like give me a shout if I can help in any way. But I think it sounds like a really good project, and the fact that you can diversify it in so many ways, like so many little different business ways and ways to get income in, I think it would be really, really good. And obviously, ultimately for the kids, I think it's just a great idea what you're doing. So yeah, it sounds really, really interesting.
Yeah,
Fingers crossed.
From an investment point of view, it also, with those multiple different avenues, it de-risks it for any investor as well.
Yeah.
As much as you can obviously de-risk an investment, but the more, you know, you, like you said, you've got the potential fishing rights, you've got fishing things that can happen there, you know, that could almost be like a cash flow to help. And then it gives, you know, you can bat things back and forth. So you'll make a load of stuff doing the stuff with the kids. You can use some of that to do the fishery stuff. You make a load of money on the fishery side of things to bat that back. Then you've got all these other little things like the glamping, the camping, the caravanning, all of that kind of stuff. So yeah, I think it's a great idea, and it's a great opportunity as well, for sure. It's just hitting the right person.
Yeah, which is why all this weekend I'm like posting because I'm just like, I might already know the person or people. It might be a collection of people that are interested. But if they don't know what I'm looking at right now, then they wouldn't know to shout out to me. So
Yeah.
And even if this does go, like if I don't get this plot, which I'm hoping I do, but if I don't get this one, that's not the end of the world. I'll find another one, because I feel like out of all the different ways I've been looking at this is the most cost-effective way to do it, and better for the environment. So another one will come along. So even if this video is like 3 months old when people watch it, still get in touch with me, because it might be that we're still looking for somewhere there.
Yeah, and feel free to share it in our group as well, Shona.
On Wednesday.
You can share it anytime. Share it this weekend. You're on a mission. You've got you know, there might be someone in that group that actually knows you but hasn't seen it in your group.
Yeah.
So just share it today.
Okay.
That's fine. And just tag me in it and say that I've said to you to share it.
Yeah.
Because then it will make sure that none of our other mutual friends who are admins in our group stop it.
Okay.
So
Brilliant. All right, well, thank you so much for coming on today, guys, and asking me questions. This is very different to what I normally do, but I think it's good because it makes me think about what I'm actually doing, and it's nice to hear your point of view as well. So yeah, thank you very much. I appreciate that.
No worries.
Right. Thanks for inviting us along.
Good luck.
Thank
Yeah.
you.